Hi, welcome back to our last example for 6.7 geometric series. In this video, we're going to look at example 4. It says a tennis tournament has 128 entrants. A player is dropped from the competition after losing one match. Winning players go on to another match. What is the total number of matches that will be played in this tournament? So this sequence is definitely represented by a geometric series, okay, because for the first round, there's going to be 64 winners. So for the first round, there's going to be 64 winners. So that's their first round. Question wants to know how many matches will be played, right? And then after they win, there'll be 32 left. That'll be for the second round and so forth. So you can see this pattern. We're multiplying by a half each time. So if to think of it, you can look at this sequence as uh, our first term could be 128 over 2 because only half of them will win and move on. So our first term is 64. The common ratio is going to be a half because we multiply by a half each time, okay, to get the next term. So that one would be 16. And we also know that at the very last term in this sequence, there's only going to be one player left, the winner. So this will be our nth match that will be played. Uh, so first round, 64 matches. Second round, 32 matches. Then 16 matches, and it goes all the way down to the last match. There'll be two people left. That'll be the last match. So our last term in this sequence is going to be 1. So this is our given information. So I think a lot of people might make a mistake here if they're not careful. They might start with 128 entrants, but that's not, at the first match, there's only going to be 64 out of there that go on. So it's be real careful that you cut that number in half first. So let's go ahead and let's try to solve the total number of matches. So we want the sum of this series. Okay. So I would like to use this equation, but I know I don't have enough information at this point because I don't know how many matches are played. I don't know how many rounds there are either. So I could actually just kind of work down. That wouldn't be too hard. 16 to 8 to 4 to 2 to 1 and then count them. But if this number was a lot larger, we wouldn't want to do that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do it this way. We're going to use the explicit formula. So we're going to say Tn equals A times R to the n minus 1. Our last term is 1. Our first term is 64. The base is 1 over 2. And we have n to the minus 1 as the exponent. So we're going to divide the 64 out. So we get 1 over 64 equals 1 over 2 to the n minus 1. We write 1 over 64 as a power of a half. So that would have to be 2 to the 6, I believe. Yeah, 1 over 2 to the 6. Then we'd have 1 over 2 to the n minus 1. So if you're ever not sure, you could just use it in your calculator. Whoops. Clear some of those off here. So we have 1 over 2. Raise that to the 6. So we actually don't want to do it that way. We just go 2 to the 6. Yeah, 64. So 1 over 2 to the 6 will be 1 over 64. So we know that these are equivalent. Okay, we got two powers that are equal. Base is the same, so the exponents must be equal. So 6 equals n minus 1. So what you can do from here is you can just drop the base. So base on these. So I don't mean like being like a DJ and dropping the base, but drop the base on the powers and then just write out the exponents. So add 1 to both sides. We got n equals to 7. All right, so now we're good. We have N, we have R, and we have A. We can put all those into here. Let's go ahead and find S7. So there must have been 7 matches. And first, in the first round, there's 64 matches. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, right? And R is a half. So we're going to have a half to the exponent 7. Minus 1 over R minus 1. R is still a half. So we're going to have 64 times 1 over 2 to the exponent 7. That's going to be double 64 because 64 was 2 to the 6. So we'll have to have 128. So 1 over 128 minus 1. I like to rewrite that minus 1 as 128 over 128. Close up the bracket. We got a negative half there. 64 divided by a half, that means multiply by 2. It'll be negative 2. So we'll have negative 128 here. And then inside the bracket, we're going to have negative 127 over 128. The 128s cancel, the negatives cancel. We're left with 127. So there would have been a total of 127 matches that were played. All right. So that is it for our last lesson for chapter 6. We only have one more chapter left for the rest of the year. So stay tuned and we'll be starting that shortly. Hope you found these videos helpful, and I'll see you guys soon.